DJ Event Planner will change the way you manage and run your business. Streamline all of your procedures and software into one easy-to-manage system. DJ Event Planner, the ultimate online planning tool.
Good evening and welcome to tonight's show from DJNTV, Disc Jockey News TV. Tonight's show is brought to you by Electra Voice, DJ Event Planner, NLFX Professional, Promo Only, switch over. There we are. And it looks like my camera's a little bit off, but okay, I can come back and fix the camera here in just a second. Hey, welcome to this would be Wednesday night on DJNTV. It's been a long week already. We've got a lot of stuff. We've covered a lot of stuff, a lot of great shows, and now tonight we're going to talk to Rob Peters, the one and only. Rob, good evening.
Hey, John. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming back again. We almost had the show last week.
I know, it's funny since everything's gone down. I think we broke the internet.
Oh, it was a mess. We had to try things backwards and forwards, and yeah, it's just everyone's out there streaming away, having a good time. So, Rob, tonight what I want to kind of dig into a little bit, this is a time when people have got some time, and it's time to put some things in place and try to get them ready. So when the things kind of start to loosen up again, that they have some things in place to help make some of that midweek money doing some of these jobs that they typically don't think of.
Well, we have a bunch of that. So, in fact, I've got slides.
Excellent.
I've got notes, slides, and everything else. So,
do you have cookies?
If you're
too?
Ready, I'm ready. We can dig right in.
If you have cookies,
and get crack-a-lack in here.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Figure out. There we go.
Share screen.
Want to make sure we do this all.
Perfect.
I should have. There we go.
Yes.
I think we're good.
Yes.
All right. Well, as John mentioned, we're going to talk midweek money, some weekday wealth, because you know what? This is the time where you should be getting started and getting ready to make that money, because once this is all over, once this all gets back to whatever you want to consider normal, and we've talked about this, John, when you've had me on before, making the preparations now so that you're ready to go when things begin to resume again. And we're looking at it from about 12 different ways right now.
Yeah.
There's plenty of opportunity to do that. So what I'm going to do tonight is a couple of things. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to talk a little bit about how to prep and ideas on what you should be doing now. And then I'm going to close with some of the things that you can be doing to make midweek money beyond, well, we're going to talk about bars and restaurants, but beyond that, because there are so many other opportunities out there, not just on the DJ side, but on the photo booth side. And we're going to talk about all that tonight. So I hope you're ready to fasten your seatbelts. We'll have some fun, and we'll hopefully, again, I'm here to give you the tools in the toolbox, you guys. If you implement and get creative, and at the end, I'll always put my contact information up. If we need to talk about it, you need somebody to bounce something off, you need some more information, I'm here for you. So let's talk about getting started. The biggest thing when it comes to getting started is figuring out what services you offer that you can use to create some weekday wealth or some midweek money. Is it your DJ system? Is it booking your photo booth? And what kinds of events during the week are you going to be able to do that? You got to start there before you go anywhere else. And we're going to talk about some of those opportunities in a few minutes on the DJ side and on the photo booth side. The second thing you got to look at when it comes to getting started is, who are you going to contact? You do not want to be, especially with the time you've got now, you don't want to be casting out blindly and basically doing what's called, what we used to call spray and pray marketing, where basically you spray your message out there and you pray you get the results. If you don't know who to talk to, you got to figure it out. And again, I'm going to help you with a little bit of that tonight too. The next thing you've got to think about when it comes to getting started is how are you going to plan on contacting them? Are you going to make your own email list? Are you going to network your way to doing this? And how are you going to do that when there aren't networking events taking place right now? I'm going to talk a little bit about some things that I'm actually doing, John, right here, right now, to help expand my network.
Excellent.
And the other thing, there we go, is how are you going to create these marketing tools? What are you, once you figure out how you're going to do it, how are you going to create it? And we're going to talk about all that tonight. So here we go. Let's fasten our seatbelts. So let's talk about what can you do. The big one right now, and it's questionable. And I have to say it's questionable because of conversations that I've had here in my own home. You look at schools and colleges right now. A lot of colleges are done. They're doing online learning. The kids are not going back to campus for the rest of the year.
Right.
When you look at it up here in the Boston area, and I don't know how it is in the Midwest, John, so help me out here. My nephew, who goes to Bryant University down in Smithfield, Rhode Island, he gets out, I believe, in the middle of May.
Yep, that's typically
for the summer.
Yep.
So it's typical.
Yep, typical.
And we're in a stay-at-home advisory until May 7th.
Yes.
So they're not going back. Now, there's a chance, and again, it varies by school district, because I'm hearing in different parts of the country, some kids in junior high schools and high schools are not going back at all.
Yep.
But if you count on the fact, or you get some of this indication that this is going to happen, being ready for the school market and the end of the year stuff is going to be key. And you can take that one step further. Had a conversation yesterday with my nephew, who's a senior in high school, and we're having a conversation about the fact that he might not be having all of those senior activities that they're used to. And in particular, prom, which is a big deal.
Certainly.
And what we started doing yesterday is I started putting together, and I had a little bit of help, we started putting together a plan, and it might be in July or August, before they all go away to school, renting a hall, basically charging what the per ticket price would be if it went through the school, and letting them get dressed up and have a prom.
Yes.
Okay?
Yep.
And we're talking about creating that on our own. We're going to work with the hall. We're going to work on it midweek so that we can keep our costs down and pass it on to the kids. Something that probably isn't going to change, but could be delayed right now, are camps. Summer camps, a lot of nonprofits plan on this stuff. A lot of towns do have a program. I foresee, based on everything that I'm knowing at this point in time, that most park and rec programs are going to happen. But again, it could be delayed. It might not start right at the end of June. It might start mid-July. Camps can be a great resource for weekday business in doing different things, not just if you're talking about like your town park and rec camp, talking about even your overnight camps. Kids events. And we talked about this before we went on.
Yep.
The dynamic of kids events are going to change, but kids events are a great way to make midweek money. I do a ton of it, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes. Excuse me. Corporate. Now, John, I made a decision about 18 months ago that RPE, my company, was going to transition from doing mostly weddings to mostly corporate.
Sure.
And we did a lot of transitioning on that, and we did very well with that until this all came along. I really see corporate coming back, and we're going to talk a little bit about why I foresee that happening if you're creative enough to go after the money. And there is a creative opportunity when you think about workplace environment as it exists right now. There are going to be conventions again. And now is the time to start planning for the 2021 convention season. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And of course, the one that is more common to DJs right now, bars and restaurants. I'm going to ask John, out in your neck of the woods, are they just doing takeout only, or are your bars and restaurants still open?
Nope, takeout only. Everything else
takeout
is,
only.
You know.
Right now, they're takeout only. But they're going to come back. And hopefully, if they're playing it smart, they're doing okay with the takeout only, or they're going to make a decision to preserve their business for when we move on beyond this.
Yes.
And that's where I kind of want to go with that is when that happens, you and I had a conversation a few weeks ago, John, and I still think we're on target to see some improvements around May. But again, I'm not a scientist. I don't even know. I mean, I know 5 people that have been impacted by this so far.
Wow.
And I'm watching the numbers every day. But I foresee that at some point this summer, life as we know it is going to get back to somewhat normal. There are going to be some changes out there. I think bars and restaurants, when they first reopen, are going to be really leery. So they're going to be looking for services to draw people in, which is where we're going to come into play. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. Mm-hmm. So we talk about what you can do, and we're going to elaborate on that in a little bit more. But we got to talk about who do you contact?
Yes, that's a big part.
This is a very big part. Now, don't just think about schools as of right now. Think about the end of the summer and kids going back to school, because now is the time to actually start planning ahead for that stuff. You contact your PTA or your PTO, your student council, or if it's a private school, some private schools have an activities committee. You want to talk to those people and get your information in front of them, even if it's too late or if they're not going back for this year, to have those materials ready to go for the fall, because they are going to look, at the end of the day, they're going to look at rebuilding a community.
Yes.
Schools, and camps and all the other stuff we're going to talk about.
I think just to add to that, Rob, I think one of the things schools are going to look at, because some of the schools in our area, you mentioned, throwing a summer prom from your promoter perspective. There are parent groups that are now looking at that idea of doing a July prom. There's some schools who are actually looking at the idea of doing a July prom for the kids. Well, you're going to get to this where some of the schools aren't going to do anything, and then homecoming is going to basically be celebrating of coming back together. So homecoming, which is always a big one, is going to be even bigger, I think, this fall if things settle down and we can be back to work like that, because these kids, it'll really be almost the first time that they've been together for 6 months.
Exactly. And they're going to want to reform those bonds. And that's where being a DJ is great. But remember the other part of this in talking about photo booth, they're going to want something to help mark that moment.
Exactly.
And they're going to draw. I'm finding that with homecomings and proms and semi-formals, that my business on photo booth end is up. Because what we're doing is we're actually value adding them and making it a little more appealing for them financially and service-wise to book both the DJ and the photo booth for us.
Nice.
Now, let's elaborate on schools a little bit more. The other big thing you want to plan for, and I should have put a slide in here for colleges, because colleges can be a great source of revenue. Let's be honest, they're not coming back until next semester.
Yeah.
So they're going to have a couple of months off, but you're also going to have that freshman orientation. That awkward time when you all walk in and you go, I don't know anybody, and oh, there's a pretty girl, and things are awkward, and they do things to build community.
Yeah.
And your services can be part of that. So plan ahead on that stuff now. Now, it's a lot of hurry up and wait, and I have to put that out there. This whole thing is a lot of hurry up and wait, especially when you're talking about, geez, Rob, it's April. And you're telling me that I should start thinking about promoting services that I'm going to offer in like July and August. Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Unfortunately, that's the realistic part of this whole thing. Is I foresee that as being when you're going to want to get your foot in the door in this stuff. And if you're trying to fill your weekday calendar, you absolutely should be getting that stuff ready to go now. We actually started marketing for some of this stuff now.
Oh, certainly.
And I'll tell you a little bit about what we did as we get through some of this.
We get down to the marketing. But yeah, this even I think one area that will be unusual for next year that has a potential for being an income generator is doing some of those lunchtime, whether it's a lunchtime karaoke event or a lunchtime, just a lunchtime dance party type of thing where you're doing background music. And the reason for this is that you're going to have communities that are wanting to get these kids back together and to give them an experience, because there's a lot of a lot of loss that they're feeling. Having your marketing material talk about potential, just throwing ideas out there like that you've highlighted some, hey, here's an idea, getting that to these decision makers. Now they're swamped. They're trying to figure out how to distance teach, but your information goes into that file, not the circular file, but the file of ideas for next year. And once it hits June 1st and we're done with the distance learning for the year, these people are going to start looking at, okay, now how are we going to make next school year unique, fun, and really ramp it up for these kids who have been home for the last 2 or 3 months.
The other part you want to add to that, and we'll get into marketing more a little bit, is it's developing the relationship. I've always been a big believer from day one that a website can sell your services, but only you can sell the relationship and what that can mean to a prospective customer. And I think that that's important to talk about here. That's why we talk about who you contact.
Exactly.
Let's move into camps real quick. Camps, you want to talk to the camp director or the activities director and reach out to them and give them your information. You're probably going to be doing a mailer. If you have a connection, what's really cool about some of this stuff is to find these people, especially as we go down some of the list here. LinkedIn can be such a huge tool for this stuff.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
And it's not just about looking and going, oh, I found John Young, but you know what? I have no connection to John Young. It's, oh, I found John Young, and look at that. I know 3 people that know him.
Yeah.
So I'm going to hit those 3 people up and say, hey, look it, I need to meet John for this reason. Can you help me? Use those tools to your advantage now to at least begin to build that relationship. But the activities director or the director are going to be the decision makers when it comes to that. Now, kids events depend, on the kids event. I deal a lot with daycares. So I deal with the daycare director, and in some cases I deal with the regional manager. I've been doing daycare centers for, believe it or not, John, this is year 15.
Goodness.
Year 15 since I took over that program. And the other kids events, you've got parks and recreation programs. Those are available in every town. And you can find out who's in charge of those by just going onto your local town website and looking up the recreation program and finding out who's in charge of camp, who's in charge of the summer concert series, who's in charge of this. Talking about some of the concepts that you can put in there is what's really going to help differentiate yourself. And remember, they all subscribe to What's in It for Me. Corporate. Yes. I put human resources, but there's more to corporate than just HR. Human resources, a lot of times, depending on the size of the corporation, they are the ones that have a branch that handles events like the corporate holiday party or the summer outing or whatever's going to be happening. You also want to look at any contacts you might have for corporate event planners, for people who work in the hotels and the venues who need to be aware. And this is the one thing I learned a long time ago when I started transitioning to corporate and introducing the fact we've done game shows. I was buying game shows when Dean used to own the company, John. We go back that far. You're talking 20 years. I've been doing game shows for 20 years, but it took me transitioning my company and sitting down with the people at corporate event planners and at, venues and saying to them, we do this. Yeah. We've done this. And the look on their faces when we didn't know you did this, which is why we never referred you for it. But now we know you from the wedding end and we can book you on that end. Bars and restaurants, you want to talk to the manager. And they are usually the decision maker. A lot of times you may deal with a district manager. You may deal, especially with the chains. Yeah. You might deal with a district or a regional manager. Sometimes, and it's very rare, but sometimes you might deal with a franchisee, depending on if it's a franchise kind of bar or restaurant. Exactly. But to know who you have to contact is going to help you get your foot in the door a little bit more and not end up in the spam. I guess you could call it a spam pile or the I'll look at that when I get time pile.
Yeah.
If you've got a connection and can figure out how to connect the dots between you and the person you need to talk to, that's a step in the right direction and at least starting to build some of this business.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you contact? Well, believe it or not, I'm a big believer in a lot of old school stuff. And we started talking about connecting the dots with LinkedIn.
Yes.
But figuring out who you're going to contact, the school's website can be a help. I go back to the days of, I still call schools, or I'll call the old PTA president that I dealt with last year and say, so who took over for you?
Yeah.
You got to do a little bit of homework on some of this stuff. You cannot, and I got to jump up and down when I say this. I'm not going to, but spamming these people will not get your foot in the door.
Mm-hmm.
Sending a random email to info@suchandsuchschool.edu is going to end up, there's a chance you're going to end up getting to the person that needs to see that email. It's like that. It's like Dumb and Dumber. So you're telling me there's a chance?
Yeah.
There isn't much of a chance here, guys. That's not how it's going to happen. But check the school's website, because you usually can find out who the advisor is for the student council. They're a good person to go talk to. The PTA and PTO people are huge. Don't go to the principal. The principal it doesn't matter to them. What matters to them is if you show up and screw up, then they're going to step in.
Mm-hmm.
Camps. Believe it or not, I find most of my camp information on the internet.
Okay.
Because I find that camps, as in the interest of safety, will put the name and email address of the director on the website for parents to be able to reach out to. I usually don't take advantage of that right away. I usually go for a mailer first. And that sounds very old school. But you know what? I hit them a bunch of different ways, and I have a marketing plan that I use. And I think that's one thing I want to stop and talk about real quick. Mm-hmm. If you're just planning on like making the paper airplane and shooting it over and hoping it hits, you gotta hit them a couple of different ways.
Yeah.
It takes seven impressions to get some kind of response. And that response still might be nothing. But you know what? If after 7 you haven't heard anything, it's time to move on.
Mm-hmm.
So kids events, guess what's back here? It depends on the event. With the daycares, the really cool thing about it is my daycares change certain years. When I go out and do daycare events, I'm director that was at one center this year is probably going to be at a different center in the same chain the next year.
Sure.
And I usually find out about that by accident. I usually do my phone calls. And, up until everything broke out with COVID-19, we were doing our phone calls January. I was doing phone calls while we were hanging out in Las Vegas at Photo Booth Expo and the DJNTV series.
Yeah.
I was doing phone calls there.
Yep. Yes,
and I would call and say, is Shannon there? No, Shannon moved to Quincy. Okay. So you make a note about that. Okay, well, who am I talking to? It was a lot of phone calls. Mm-hmm. But you know what? For the amount of kids work I do, it's worth it to me. Because now I start fresh with new directors all the time. And that works out really huge because a lot of those directors are actually teachers that have seen my performance before.
Right.
A lot of promotion from within. All right, corporate. Human resources. We talked about LinkedIn. We talked about networking. I would not send an email unless you've made some other kind of connection with the person who is a decision maker at a corporate. I think that applies to all of this, but especially in corporate. That's the first way for you not to get considered is to send an email and go, hi, I'm Rob from Game Show Parties of Boston, and this is what we can do, and check out our brochure, and blah, 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 blah. Do not go in there blind. Mm-hmm. That's just brutal. And in the corporate event planner market, you'll get known as the guy who's the spammer.
For sure. Very quickly.
I've gone to MPI and to NACE and to the Greater Boston Visitors and Convention Bureau, and I'm developing relationships right now. And it's funny what you can talk about with people when you're networking, and that's a whole nother seminar, by the way. But it's funny what you learn when you're networking and you're doing it right, because people will tell you what they have had done wrong to them.
Very quickly.
If that makes sense. Restaurants and bars, believe it or not, best way to get your foot in the door at a bar or a restaurant is to walk in and ask to see the manager and have your stuff ready to go. That has been the most effective for us. Here's when not to go. Do not go between 11:30 and 1 or anytime after 4:30 in the afternoon. You will not get their attention. 11:30 and 1, rush hour. I would even say 11:30 to 2. If you go between 2 and 4 and you walk in, hey, can I talk to who's the manager? Is Bill? Can I talk to Bill? I just want, and sit down with Bill. Bill, listen, I know you're getting hammered with a bunch of different things, but if you give me 5 minutes of your time, I'll leave this with you and I'll be right out of your hair. And have a conversation about why your service is going to stand out from everything else. I get probably, when I go out and do in person, I go every 4 I visit, I usually get some kind of favorable response out of half of it. And I'll take that.
Yeah, that's
because I'll plan my trips according to geographic region and lunch. So like I'll actually go have lunch at a bar and I'll talk to the bartender. And that's another trick. If you're at a bar or restaurant for lunch, sit at the bar, if you're of age, obviously, and talk to the bartender. What do you do here during the week? Who does this? I get more intel out of talking to the bartender. And they have no idea who I am. And you know what? They will talk to you about it if you ask them.
Really quickly.
They have no problem with that.
Yes.
All right. So let's talk about creating marketing. Now, I prepared this and then I discovered something. So, John, if you'll remind me, I will remember to do this when we get to the end. There's another piece when it comes to create your marketing that I want to talk about, but we'll get to that in a minute. One of the biggest things that I have found is I am good at certain things. I'm good at, once I get my foot in the door, being able to talk to you about why our service is different and why it's worth investing in it. But writing and designing stuff and writing email copy and just doing all that stuff, I'll be honest with you, I'm the owner of the company. I wear 12 different hats. And I would rather delegate that out. One of the most effective ways that I've had good results with is Fiverr.com.
Right.
That you can get anything done there for $5. And I give a lot of, I do a little bit of research though. If you're having, excuse me, if you're having copywriting services done, when you're looking for a copywriter, filter. And I don't want this to come across the wrong way. I would prefer to work with somebody who is a copywriter who lives in the United States and speaks English.
I think the idea that English is a first language, you wouldn't want to have me writing copy for a Spanish-speaking audience because it would sound funny the way we would write and then translate it over.
If you decide to go it alone and do yourself, here's the big one, and this is one of my biggest pet peeves. Don't steal someone else's images.
Yeah.
That's a big no-no. There are companies out there like 123RF. There's a whole bunch of royalty-free stuff that you can buy, and it's very cost-effective. When we introduced our video horse racing parties, I didn't have any of that stuff.
Right.
And I actually went online and I went and got the copy I needed to make my marketing stuff pop. Do it legitimately. I think it speaks volumes, especially if, and I had this happen some time ago. I actually had somebody who lent me an image and I had it in writing that they were giving it to me. And somebody who knew this person and knew it was their image went onto my Facebook page on a post for an event that I was a sponsor of. And it was basically an image on my my pull-up banner. And basically turned around and wrote, "You stole that image," in the comments for everybody to see.
Yes.
I think it just alleviates a lot of unethical behavior, but a lot of stuff that can go wrong if you do it that way. Remember the radio station, what's in it for me? WIFM. What's in it for me? Figure out, focus on the result you're going to bring them, not what you're going to do to bring the result. If you're talking about bar trivia and you are, you want to talk about things like our services are designed to keep people in your bar, spending money, having food and drink while they play our game. Or while they're, I am known as, I'm the karaoke king of the South Shore. I'm really not, but
right. No,
I'm the karaoke king of the South Shore. I have over 10,000 songs, and you know what? People follow me to different bars because they like how I do my show. So what that means for you is you're going to have people coming in here every week because I'm here. Know what the result is and know how to communicate that to them in terms that they're going to understand. Things like higher profits and more money, yeah, that sounds good to a bar or restaurant owner. Things like better morale is great for a camp director or for people in HR. The kids will have a blast and be making memories. Works well with schools and kids events. Have an offer or a call to action. Let's be honest, if you're getting into something new as a midweek service, and it's something that's not known in your market, don't be shy about making a special offer or a special introductory rate to start getting your services booked. But make sure you're always asking for a call to action.
Yep.
Call us today, drop us an email, text me. And remember, I said this earlier, 6 to 8 touches to get you to a buying decision. So, since we're there, I'm going to slide and I'll come back to it, I promise.
Okay. That's
my contact slide, and I'll come back to that.
Sure.
Because I welcome questions, and I understand how navigating these waters right now is really difficult. But I want to talk about some more of these ideas that are really important. In particular, what kind of kids parties can you do? We talked about school events. And we talked about these are some of the things you can do at schools. You get your field days, you got your proms, you got your end of the year events. At the beginning of the school year, the PTA or PTO should want to do some kind of way to get the community back together. So they may throw a family fun night.
Yes.
After school programs, believe it or not, I do probably 2 or 3 a month. I do after school game shows where we go in and we bring in our game show and we ask great appropriate questions. John, I do that twice a month. That's at least, over $1,000 of additional revenue coming into my company on a Wednesday.
Nice.
I mean, come on. It's easy stuff. Camps. These are some of the things we touched upon this already. Orientation events, dances, park and rec programs. The other thing you want to add to some of this stuff is summer concerts. If you do something unique, and we'll talk about one of the things that I do unique in a moment and how it benefits me, library programs. Your summer concert series on the town green or whatever it is. Those are all like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday events. And they draw people. And there are organizations that sponsor this stuff and will pay you to do it. One of the things I wanted to talk about when it came to camps, though, real quick, is something that my friend Keith Allen has developed. And it's called Camperty.
Yeah.
Camperty is a program that he designed, and he makes this information available by a real simple email to him. This is a program he developed for camps, and it actually expanded into something that goes into schools, and it combines, especially if you've got a game show, it combines a grade appropriate game show with icebreaker games, traditional icebreaker games like sack race and tug of war and hula hoops and stuff like that. He does a ton of these during the summer. He sells out in the summer.
Nice.
And then he does a bunch of these in the fall and winter as part of the school year. And he does really well with it. If you want more information, check out camperty.com. That's an easy way to find out more about it, and reach out to Keith. He's located in Connecticut if he needs contact information, I'll be glad to give it to. I can be glad to give it out to anybody who asks.
Sounds good.
And the other thing is something that is near and dear to my heart. And we started talking about it, and I'll go through it real quick. And it's bubble parties.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a program that was developed by my mentor, John Allo, as a daycare entertainment program. But it's something that has expanded. It's basically a DJ program with bubbles and a little bit of bubble science that we teach everybody how to do. The really cool thing about bubble parties is it's grown for us beyond just the daycare program. We do it at parks and recs. We do it at summer concerts and libraries. I actually, 4 years ago, I had an opportunity, and we did this. We did, it was a like AAA affiliate of a Major League Baseball team located in Brockton. It's called the Brockton Rocks. We were the activities people for the Brockton Rocks. And we got it because we used to do bubble parties on Sunday Fun Days.
Nice. And
that was a $15,000 contract for one summer for us.
Wow.
So this stuff not only can fill your schedule, and this is what I want to emphasize, it can also bring other revenue into your business. And that's also as important. Bars and restaurants. Let me jump in here. Trivia is huge. You've got you can do it yourself, but you got organizations like DJ Trivia. Dave does a good job with that, and I know he's one of your sponsors, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
And great guy. We actually use a program called Speed Quizzing, which is smartphone trivia, and it's app-based, and we have a lot of fun with that. Music Bingo, which is you got Music Bingo. There's a version out of it called Extreme Bingo. Dave just introduced DJ Bingo. It's basically name that tune, but in a bingo format. Again, these are things when it comes to bars and restaurants that will keep people sitting in their seats. And if they're sitting in their seats and playing your game, they're not just going to sit there and not do anything. Of course, they're going to come in and they're going to order food or drink,
exactly.
Which means it's going to be revenue to the bar owner. Weeknight entertainment. Now, I'm a full-service company, John, and as you can imagine, when I dove into the kids market, we expanded a lot, and we actually have magicians and face painters.
Nice.
We actually have our magicians booked at one bar locally one Monday a month, and it's kids' night every Monday night. But one Monday a month, he has our magician. Another time, he has one of our balloon twisters. On the other 2 weeks, he's got other specialty performers that the owner booked on his own.
Sure.
But what's really nice about that is it keeps them busy. Now, you can go beyond this a little bit more. Is there some kind of concept that you do? Is it just playing music before the big game on the TV? Those all take place during the week. So, again, we used to do tailgate parties for Patriots games. And preseason, we were doing them, on Thursday nights.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of different concepts out there. You really got to find something that's going to work for you and put it out there. And believe it or not, karaoke is still huge. And it's huge if you've got the right host with the right library and the right attitude. You can't mail this stuff in, especially with karaoke, because karaoke's been out there so long. There are the diehard people that are out there doing it are doing well with it. You can too. You just need to build it the right way. I know one guy who does bar karaoke, and he comes out with props and wigs and everything else, and it's dress-up day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And you've also got alternative games and other things you can do as well. And you want to make sure you stand out in a very crowded market. That's the other thing, is bars and restaurants are always going to be crowded no matter what. I want to jump back real quick, and we're almost to the end of what I got to talk about here, but I want to jump back real quick to, in particular, schools, events, and camps for a second, because these are also opportunities for you to book your photo booth if you're a photo booth person, or if you have a photo booth in conjunction with your DJ business. Field days and proms and PTO family fun nights, those are all moments where parents are going to want those pictures to remember that moment and remember that Billy was in second grade.
Yes.
And this is a fun Halloween party that we did. Same thing with camps and dances. it's souvenir kind of stuff. And those are good opportunities for you to book your photo booth. So take advantage of all that.
Mm-hmm.
I talked about Camperty. Let me just jump here real quick because I want to talk about bars and restaurants. Believe it or not, Valentine's Day or one night a month or kids' night, family nights, offer your photo booth. See if they'll book your photo booth on an off night for a little bit of a break for them to, to have families go in and take their pictures. If you've got a roamer, it works well because the roamers, as you know, have the ability to be able to produce a report of all those phone numbers. And if you do the behind the scenes stuff the right way, the owner can use that as text marketing or email marketing to be able to continue to market what's going on in a bar or restaurant. And you look like the hero with all of this. Corporate, you got employee appreciation and recognition events. You've also got things like the holiday party. Team building. And I want to hit this one really hard right now because I think that this is important to talk about. Okay? Everybody right now is working remotely.
Everybody, yes.
Almost pretty much everybody. The only people that I don't know that are working remotely right now are the people in public safety. And I tip my hat to all of them because you don't have an easy job right now. And even the medical field. When all of these companies start going back into their workplace again, you are going to be bringing people who probably are a little more relaxed because they're working at home back into the environment where they're going to need to produce. And if you know how to produce a team building event, you're going to stand out. And that's the one thing we're doing right now is we sent to all of our corporate event planners, hey, look, we know things are busy right now, but know two things. Number one, if you have a client that has a need because they need to reschedule, call us, and we will try to help them if the entertainment they've already booked can't. Mm-hmm. And number two, when this is all over, we are going to be ready to help you book team building stuff. I sent that out 4 times today, and I got 3 emails back going, we didn't even think about this yet, but you know what? As soon as this happens, Rob will call you.
Yeah, yep.
I am fresh in their minds right now. Sound reinforcement. If you're dealing with associations or different businesses that maybe are going off-site for an event and they need a PA system, rent your PA system and your services as a sound technician to run the system for them. I do a call center conference every quarter. And they always have the reason why I get the gig is because the country club down the street from my house only has one wireless microphone, and they always want to do panel discussions with 5 people. I can get 5 microphones and a mixer to really mix it all good. So I put together a proposal. I sent it over to the venue. They passed it on to them. They booked me. That's $1,000 every quarter that they're calling me and having me come do one day to just sit there and turn microphones on and off and make it sound good. Mm-hmm. Meetings and conferences are huge revenue generators for me during the week. And think about it. If you're doing weddings on the weekends, your gear's sitting around during the week. Why not put that to work and make some more money? It's the simplest concept. How do you market this? We've talked about this already a little bit. I think it's really important, though, to remember to use your networking channels. I think a introduction of your services to somebody who, from somebody who is a mutual connection, speaks more volumes than you trying to knock on doors.
Certainly. Yep, they can open doors.
So if you're not a member of ILEA or NACE or your local Visitors and Convention Bureau or Meeting Planners International, I'll be honest, it's not like the associations we have. Getting into these groups costs a lot more, and it requires a lot more of an investment of time on your part to make this work. But I will tell you that if you get good at networking, and again, that's a whole nother seminar, John, I'll be happy to do for you and everybody at DJNTV some night. If you do it right, I go into every networking event I go into, I walk out with a couple of new connections and a potential piece of new business. Nice. That's why sitting at home right now really sucks for me because I miss going to networking events, which is why I created my own. I actually am hosting tomorrow night a business after hours online.
Mm-hmm.
And I invited a bunch of people and I said, listen, let's get together. You're going to meet everybody who's there. You're going to get their contact information and you're going to find out a little bit about them. You're going to find out what they do and you're going to find out what a good referral is for them.
Nice.
Win-win. And what does it cost to me? I'm paying for Zoom anyway.
Yep, you've got it.
Why not?
Use the tool.
So there you go. I'm going to jump back and put my contact information back up here. Do you have any questions for me, John?
No, most of the questions and such we've been handling. I think probably one of the biggest takeaways for tonight is that you've got a lot of thoughts and plans and such, but it's that using this time right now to really become a ninja stalker type of thing, using LinkedIn, using Facebook, and going and researching and finding people, going to a local business page where you'd like to connect and finding out who's managing that page. Sometimes you can find that information. I think that this is that time to try to find those people, so you have some names to now start looking for that third-party referral situation. And it might be that you find a name on a listing, over here on Facebook, and then you go over to LinkedIn, and that's where you find out that you have a connection with that person, even though they may not have their LinkedIn profile as updated as the Facebook stuff was. So
exactly,
it's just working back and forth right now and using this time to be that stalker.
There is one more thing, and you know what? I said I was going to bring this up, and I'm bummed because I can't find the website right now. But there are websites out there when you're trying to design stuff. I found this really cool website, and I'm trying to look on my phone to find the email because I think it's important to share it with everybody. But there are websites out there where basically you put out your project for graphic design as a contest.
Oh, yep.
Right? And you tell them what you want. And basically, I did this with my business cards, and I was so thrilled at my new business cards that I just sent to Vistaprint to have printed. I'm going to be doing it with everything else. But if you're not good with graphic design, it cost me, what it cost me? $110.
Oh, not bad at all.
Okay. I got 22 different designs on my business cards.
Wow.
And out of that $110, I had to use 80 of that was allotted as the prize for the contest. A great way to get this stuff done. And the cool thing about it is the guy who won my contest, I actually said to him, I said, listen, I need you to just clean some of this up and take some. He did everything for me. I sent him the money. He sent me all the files. And he said to me, if you need anything else in the future, here's my contact information. If you don't want to do the contest, we'll work something out.
Sure. Nice.
And Vistaprint, since I brought them up, Vistaprint has those canned, templates. Mm-hmm. And I usually pick on DJs that get the templates, John. I don't know if you recall. I usually it happens when I'm live. And I think you've seen me do it where I collect business cards every time I speak, and I sit there and I go, okay, template,
yep,
template, original, template. Listen, anybody can use these templates, you guys. So do yourself a favor. Vistaprint for $5 will put one of their artists on your project for you. And they'll give you a better design or a better look. $5.
Yeah,
I'll do it.
Yeah,
and I was doing that for a while, but I never have been happy with my business cards. I get great compliments on them, but I think I finally hit a winner with this contest thing. So that's that.
Nice, excellent.
All my contact information's on the screen here. Anybody watching this, John, you know I'm always open to if anybody wants to learn more about bubble parties, or if anybody has a question about anything I spoke about tonight, or you just want to pick my brain, or you want to get in touch with Keith Allen, whatever it is, let me know. I'll be more than glad to help because to me, I've been doing this now, and you and I go back some time, John. I'm on year 34.
Yeah.
And I'm not giving up anytime soon.
Yeah, we've been in the business for a few years, and Still many to go yet. So, Rob,
we have some stories too, but we'll do that another.
That's another show. So, Rob, thank you much for putting things together for us tonight and sharing some thoughts and ideas. And again, gang, you guys have any questions? Reach out to Rob, and he'll get you going on where you need to be in your business. So, we've got about 10 minutes, and then we're going to be coming back, and we're going to do the podcasting software and gear show. MJ and I are going to be basically going through and talking about all those different things that go on behind the scenes. Tonight, we're going to go through those pieces and such. So we'll be back in about 10 minutes with that. Rob, once again, thanks for being on.
John, thank you.